All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning, and I'll try not to run too long and try to stay focused on, the things we need to stay focused on this morning. But the purpose of this call is not just telesales. Whether you're in field sales or telesales, you're going to be able to take a lot from this. I'm going to break this up into two parts. Some of you were on the last one I did. A lot of it's going to be very similar. A lot of it's going to be the same thing. What I'm going to try to do is if you have a question or a comment, put it in the chat. I've got people on here that are well capable of answering a lot of your questions. And I'm going to let them kind of take care of those questions in between. I kind of wanted to do this one in mind to record and actually have this to put on our YouTube channel and to put in Discord. So we didn't necessarily send out a ton of invitations for this. I think we did one post on Instagram, and that's about it, because I wanted to be able to capture this in video form this morning. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're just shooting this with a webcam, so the quality may not be perfect, but that's okay. The content is what we're after, and the quality of the content is excellent for sure. So give you a little bit about my background. My name's John Tanner. My partner and I own a company called Agents Resource Group, where we distribute final expense and Medicare products. Now, done this now for over 2 decades. I started my career back a little over 20 years ago in the insurance industry. And when I started out selling Medicare supplements. Medicare supplements were the first type of insurance I ever sold. This was before Medicare Advantage plans ever came out, even before Medicare Part D drug plans came out. I remember when the year that the drug plans came out, when they very first came out, I actually got to work with one of the companies that pioneered that, or not pioneered it, but one of the first companies in the state of Georgia, one of the biggest companies in the state of Georgia when the drug plans first came out. So I got firsthand involvement with that. I always worked in the senior market. Someone told me as I started my career, John, if you'll work with the 65 and older group, you'll be able to work during the daytime because they're retired. You don't have to work late in the evenings. That wasn't entirely true. I've worked a lot of late evenings in my career. But another reason is because more than 1/3 of the United States population is made up of 60 and older on a fixed income. So with final expense and Medicare products, a lot of times we work with people that are 60 and older on a fixed income, especially, and I'm definitely emphasizing final expense this morning on this call. This is a call geared toward telesales in the final expense market. Now, if you're in a different market, you will be able to take some of these tools with you. They will work, they will translate. But all in all, this is for final expense life insurance agents, especially for telesales agents in the final expense market. But I've always pretty much been in this market. I've sold other products. I have worked with younger people. To be honest, I definitely have over the years, but I've always specialized and focused in this market. And about 12 years ago, we were at I was in not Austin, Houston, Texas, at a meeting. And I was trying to do multiple types of products and different things like that. I kind of still had that broker mentality, work with a bunch of different companies, be able to service a bunch of different needs for, all different age groups and all different products and different things like that. Even though I was kind of focusing in 60 and older, I was selling a bunch of different products. I was still selling term insurance, still selling Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage plans, trying to focus on building the company around that, my partner and I. And I heard someone come in to this meeting in Houston, and they said this: pick a niche and get rich in that niche. Find something that you want to do, a niche market, and become the very best at that, the very best. And, I kind of adopted that philosophy from that point on. I want to find a niche, or I already knew the niche. I had already found it. I knew it was final expense. I knew it was final expense products for a few different reasons. Number one, again, 60 and older on the fixed income. is the largest portion of the United States population out there, the largest demographic by far, more than 1/3 of the United States population made up of 60 and older on a fixed income. So I love this market because of that. Number one, because of that. Number two, the reason I like final expense is because final expense is simple. And I wanted to scale. My partner and I, we were in this business to scale, to get bigger and bigger, to recruit more and more agents, to train them on this platform, and to continue to grow and to expand nationwide on a very large scale. But anything that you want to scale needs to be simplified to the most simple form possible. And final expense basically is one of the most simple forms of insurance out there. Our underwriting process is called simplified issue underwriting. It's simple. We do everything based on a script check. We don't even pull an MIB at Senior Life, which is the main company that we distribute for, the only company we distribute for at this point. We don't even pull an MIB. It's just a script check and just a few health questions. It's a very simplified process. We've made the sales process very simplified. We've made the enrollment process very simplified. The more we can simplify things, the more we can scale things. So this is the reason I love final expense. This is the reason I love Senior Life. And this is the reason that I teach these things, because I want to teach this in a very, very simplified way. The less complicated you can make anything, the more scalable it'll become. So let's talk about you. That's enough about me. Let's talk about you and how you find success. It's the same purpose. Find you a niche, get rich in that niche, become the very best in that niche. And now some people correct me and say the word is actually niche. Well, niche don't rhyme with rich. So let's say niche. Find that niche, find that area, find that type of thing that you want to sell, that market that you want to cater to. Become the very best that there is at that. But you have to make up your mind what you're going to do, what product you're going to focus on, what company you're going to use, the type of leads, the platform, all of that. You've got to determine that, and then you got to turn it on wide open and become the very best in that industry, in that market. I've got people on here, I recognize your faces, and I know that you're doing that. You're trying to become that expert, that specialist, that person that knows this market better than anyone else out there. And that's what we need to achieve, to do, and strive to. So with all that being said, let's talk about how to simplify the process of sales to the point to make it scalable, because that's what we want for each of you. We want you to be able to have a simple method, a simple strategy, keep it simple, just go to work and make things happen. And I approach everything like that. I approach the business that way. I approach the platform that way. I approach sales that way. Now, sales is two things, made up of two things. Everybody on this call, there's two things you're going to have to work on every single day if you want to become good at sales. More than two, but two things I'm going to emphasize here this morning. Number one, skills. You got to have a skill set. You got to know what you're doing. That's what we're going to talk about. 80% of this Telasales Academy is all about skill set. But that does not mean it's the most important thing. Even more important than the skill set is something we call mindset. You hear me say these things over and over again. Mindset is key to everything. Before you ever show your skills off, you got to have the correct mindset. The mindset is what gets you out of the bed in the morning. The mindset is what gets you motivated. The mindset is what tells you that you can be successful, and you have to believe you can be successful way before you ever become successful. You have to know that you're able. You have to know that you're good enough. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have all of these things. You have to be able to look at obstacles and find solutions and realize that on the other side of that obstacle, there's a solution and there's a promotion. All of these things are mindsets. And I would say what cripples more sales professionals than anything is an improper or a weak mindset. See, we all have the ability to sell, bottom line. You know, you'll hear things, and this is a big myth in the sales industries, that you have to be either you have it or you don't. It's something you're born with. No, it's absolutely not something you're born with. When I started my sales career, I had no experience in sales, had no experience in insurance, didn't even know how to spell insurance. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to learn everything. Didn't know how to sell. I'd never sold anything in my life. I knew nothing about any of it, but I learned. I listened to people like Zig Ziglar back then. You know, when I started, we didn't have YouTube. The internet was still slow. I was able to go into bookstores and buy cassette audios of salespeople like Zig Ziglar, who would talk about how to do the different types of closes, talk about the proper mindset, talk about things that would help me to develop my skill set. And I would listen to that. I know when it came to cassette audios, I think I bought everything that Barnes and Noble sold at the time by everybody I could get my hands on. I developed my sales skills, and I developed my proper mindset and the mentality. When I wake up in the morning, especially today's Monday, it's the last Monday before Christmas in December today. When I woke up this morning, I get up on Monday different than I get up any other day. I get up on Monday to attack the day, to seize the day, to make sure that I have the proper mindset 100% when I step into Monday, because I know that is 90% of the game. My skill set is very important, and we're going to talk about that, but my mindset ultimately is important. Now, no one's born a sales. Sure, some people have the gift of gab, as we will call it. Some people are very comfortable talking to other people. Some people are very good at communicating. They're very natural at these things. But if you're not natural and if you're not good at it, guess what? You can become natural and you can become good at it. It just takes some work. It just takes some learning. It just takes a little bit of study and principles being applied, and you can get there. See, if you believe that you can sell insurance, then you can. But if you believe you can't, then you can't. Either way, you're right. But see, here's what you got to understand. You're selling yourself on whether you can or whether you can't now. You're selling yourself already. So you're already a good salesman or a good sales lady. You're already good at sales because you've been selling yourself on something your entire life. Your family, when you're around family members who've worked in the insurance industry or worked in real estate or sold cars or whatever, and they tell you, hey, it's hard, it's a struggle, they're selling you at that point. And you have to determine, are you going to let them sell you, or are you going to be sold? Or are you going to sell them on the fact that, yes, it is a struggle. Yes, it is hard. Yes, it can be difficult. Yes, I do have to be self-motivated. Yes, I do have to sell something to make a commission. Yes, it is different working commission-based and not on some salary or some hourly rate. All these things are true. But I believe in myself, and I have the ability, and I'm going to sell myself on the fact that I can. So we're already selling. We started selling a long time ago, and we're all good at sales because we've sold ourselves on either the truth or a lie that has become the truth because you've repeated it over and over and over again. So go ahead and just debunk that myth right off the bat, that sales is something that you're born with. You've either got it or you don't. It's a myth, 100%. If you don't have it, you can get it. If you don't know it, you can learn it. But it all starts right here with the proper mindset. So you can be successful. Now, with that, with having the proper mindset, you know, I can help you with a lot of things. I can tell you over and over and over, but ultimately that is up to you on what you believe and what you think. But you have to believe in yourself. The next thing I want to say before I get into any of the different steps of sales or all that is this. The person who talks to the most people, the person who sees the most people, the person who takes the most action will always sell the most. It's all about math. It's all about numbers. I don't care how skilled you are. I don't care how good you can I don't care how good your presentation is. I don't care how many rebuttals you have, for how many objections. I don't care about any of those things. If you do not pick up the phone and make the calls, you cannot sell. You got to get out there. You've got to get in the game. You got to swing the bat. You got to shoot the ball. You got to throw the ball. You got to do these things or you will not have success. It's all about action. See, I'd rather take someone with very, very little skills, get them out there and get them really committed to massive action over and over, dialing and dialing and dialing and dialing, talking to as many people as possible. That person will outsell 10-1 the most skilled, the most seasoned, the most polished, the sharpest sales professional that there is. That person will outsell them if they take more action. You got to take action. You got to call more. You got to take more leads. It's all a numbers game. So concentrate on the proper mindset. Concentrate on developing a strong skill set, knowing the different things, having all of the different tools that you need, having all the things that I'm going to teach you through this. But know this, at the end of the day, the person that takes the most action will always win. So have the mindset that, yes, my mindset is going to be correct. My skill set is going to be great. I'm going to develop it. I'm going to read. I'm going to study. I'm going to continue to become better at presenting myself, at presenting my product. I'm going to have the knowledge and the different things that I need. But more than anything, I'm going to take action. I'm going to have a set time every single day. And that's very important. If you're going to be successful at telesales, you've got to be able to eliminate distractions from your life. You've got to schedule your day. You've got to set certain times of the day where you are devoted to the telephone, where you are devoted to making calls. You've got to do this every day. You cannot schedule your work around your life. You can't just try to pick out an hour here and an hour there, 2 hours here, 2 hours there. You got to look at this thing like a job. You got to look at this thing like a career, because that's what it is. This morning at about 6 o'clock, I pulled into a gas station and I grabbed some coffee. Was out of coffee at home. So I pull into a gas station about 6 o'clock and I'm going in. I'm getting my cup of coffee. And there's, in line in front of me are some construction workers. They got on jeans and work boots and real thick insulated jackets. It's cold this morning. It's very cold in South Georgia. Cold for us, let's put it that way. And these guys are getting ready to go work. They're going to do real work, not like what we do, where we talk to people all day and convince them to buy something, or talk to people on the phone all day. But they're getting out into the elements. They're going to be cold today. In the summertime, they're going to be hot. They're working. They got a boss man telling them what to do. They clock in. They got to work from a certain time to another time. And I said a little prayer as I was checking out, and I said, thank you, God, that I don't have to do that anymore, that I'm going to go to a warm office and I'm going to work. I'm going to talk in front of a camera to a few people about how to sell something. And I'm just had such a moment of gratitude this morning. But you know, there's nothing wrong with what these guys do. It's needed. It's a necessity. Somebody's got to do those type of jobs, and somebody's got to do that type of labor. And I'm thankful that they do, but I'm also thankful that I don't have to. But with what I do, I'm going to treat it the way they treat theirs. I'm going to respect the fact that if I don't show up at a certain time every day and stay until a certain time every day, I'm not going to be successful. See, I've heard a lot of people say that I'm going to get into sales and I'm going to get into business so that I have more time and I have more freedom. And guys, that's great. You will have more time and you will have more freedom. But if you're just starting and you're brand new at this, forget it. You got to devote every second that you can to this. You have got to put some restrictions on yourself so that you can get to the point to where that freedom comes and you can take more time off. But in the beginning, it's massive action and massive effort. It takes everything you can, and you have to be even more conscientious of the fact that I have to schedule time to do this. From 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 3-4 days a week may be what it takes for you. from 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock, 5 days a week, maybe what it takes for you in the beginning. I don't know. But if you want to be successful at this, you got to have the mentality, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Not I'm gonna work until it gets hard and then I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna do whatever it takes, because listen, guys, when things get hard, when it gets real hard, on the other side of hard is usually success. So work until it gets hard and then work even harder, because it is hard sometimes. Not every week is going to be easy. Not every week's going to be tough. Some weeks going to be better than others, but you got to be consistent. So I'll say this with time management. Pick a time. Monday needs to be the most important day of your week. Never miss a Monday. If you have a doctor's appointment, schedule it for Friday. Schedule whatever you can. If you got to get your oil changed, do that on Saturday or Sunday. You want to get your car washed, do all of those things on the weekend. Schedule your time in the week and focus on the phone. If you want to do telesales, you're going to have to call twice as many people, maybe 3 times as many people on the phone as you would have to if you were doing field sales. I'm not saying telesales is harder. There's a lot of advantages to doing telesales. I'll give you one advantage. If it's 25 degrees outside, which it's not, but it feels like it. If it's 25 degrees outside, guess what? You don't have to go outside for telesales. You don't have to go to your vehicle to the door. None of these things. If you work leads that are 3 hours away from your home, guess what? You could call 30 people in the time it would take to drive those 3 hours there and those 3 hours back. You can make better use of your time, but it's a good thing, and it's good that you can make better use of your time, because you're going to need to, because you're going to have to contact, you're going to have to call, you're going to have to dial more and more people than you ever have. Telesales, not only does sales take massive action, but telesales takes even more action. So have that mindset. So you have to be very respectful of your time. Never miss a Monday. Make it a point every Monday of your life to pick up a phone at 9 o'clock in the morning and start calling, start dialing, start getting people on the phone. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't care how good you are at this business. I don't care how good you are over the phone. I don't care how good you are face to face. I don't care if your skill set is second to none. I don't care if your mindset is perfect and your skill set is second to none, and you got everything going for you and everything right, and you know exactly what you're doing. You got all the knowledge and all the tools and all of that. Not everybody is going to buy from you. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to sell them all. You're not going to get them all. I'll go a step further. You probably ain't even going to sell half of them. That's okay, especially on telesales. Now, I got a couple people on this call that I can send them out with 10 leads. They're going to sell 5 of them, come back smiling. I get it. Skill set's there, mindset's there. I get it. But you're not going to sell them all. Heard someone tell me years ago, he said, John, about a third of the people that you talk to, anybody could sell them. About 1 out of 3, it's going to be easy. If you can actually get them on the phone, go through a presentation, about 1 out of 3 will buy from you, regardless of your skill set, regardless of how well you present it. They're just buyers. They can't tell people no. They're easy. They're going to lay down. Now, they may cancel it later, but they're going to buy, because they're not confrontational people. That's what they do. They'll buy anything. So about 1 out of 3 people, it's going to be easy to sell them if you can actually get through a presentation. Then there's that other 1 out of 3 that nobody can sell them. They just don't buy. From the beginning of the call to the end of the call, you get nowhere. They're just not going to buy. If you got any experience in this business, you know who these people are. You may be this person. I don't know. They're just not going to buy. I used to be that person when I would go shop for a vehicle. I would never buy on the first time. I would go in on a Sunday and I'd cruise a lot. I didn't want to be bothered. And then the last thing I want to do was to actually talk to a salesperson. But once I talked to them, I was still, Harley, I'm not buying today. I'd always start out that way. You know these people. You encounter these people. You can't let them make your day bad. About a third of them's going to always buy. About a third would never buy. You can call them back 10 times. They're just not going to buy. Not everybody wants insurance. I agree, everybody needs insurance, but not everybody's going to buy insurance. So that 1/3, just don't worry about them. But then there's that 1/3 in the middle. The last 1/3 is that 1/3 in the middle. They don't buy always, but they do buy sometimes. The strong closer, the person with the strong skill set, the person with the strong mindset, that person will close those. That's the only difference in a great sales professional and a mediocre sales professional. A great sales professional and an average sales professional is that 1/3 in the middle. So I say that because of this. Nobody starts out excellent. I just shared a video on Instagram the other day that says this: anything worth doing is worth doing right, and that's true. But anything worth doing is worth doing bad or poorly until you get good at it. Same thing with the insurance industry. Don't panic. Don't be afraid that, hey, I'm going to suck at this. I've never done this. I'm new. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just picking up the phone. I'm calling people. Don't worry about it. 1/3 of the people you talk to would buy from anybody. They've already seen the TV commercial and been sold on it. They've already sent the card in, read the information, been sold on it. They've already talked to their aunt, their uncle, their cousin, their nephew. They're already ready to go. They're just waiting on your phone call. And then the other 1/3, there's another 1/3 that's not going to buy from anybody. So when they hang up on you, don't worry about it. Keep your smile on your face and call the next one. And even if it takes you a while to get better and more skilled, to get that other 1/3, that 1/3 in the middle, that 1/3 that Jose's selling right now, don't worry about it. You're still going to make money selling your 1/3. And as you get better, you'll close more sales. Your ratios and your percentages will go. But just start somewhere. Pick up the phone and dial. Get started. Then here's another mindset, a wrong mindset. Well, I don't want to waste leads. The only way you can waste a lead is not to call a lead or to go see a lead or not buy a lead. An old lead that ages out and gets old is wasted because you didn't sell it. Don't worry about wasting leads. Guys, when you pick up a phone and you call a lead, they don't know it's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, or 2000th time you've done that. You've got to have confidence. Confidence in yourself, confidence in your ability, confidence in the system, confidence in the program. You've got to have confidence. So don't worry about wasting a lead, this or that. Get out there and get started. One big myth that we're trying to overcome right now, we have to talk about it every day, is people aren't buying around the holidays. It's a myth. Guys, people's got family on their mind more than ever this time of the year. And people buy final expense insurance for their family. People are no different today than they're going to be on Christmas Day. Go see the people, call the leads, do the work, take the action, get out there. Don't believe these myths and these lies that we tell ourselves. You know, Jose's on the call this morning. I'm going to pick on him this morning because he told me last week, he said, people's buying insurance around Christmas. People want insurance around Christmas. And I've been repeating that to myself and repeating it to other agents. People are buying insurance around Christmas. People want insurance around Christmas, because you got to believe that and you got to know that so that when you get on the phone, it comes through. People are. Guys, we got to get rid of all these myths and all this stinking thinking. Zig Ziglar, you say we need a checkup from the neck up. And it's true. That's what we need, guys. Sales is 90% right here in your mind. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What's in here and what's in here comes through. So how do you see yourself? How do you see this industry? How do you see the customer? If you're write this down. And I shared this on a call this morning. How you view what you do will determine how you do what you do. How you view what you do will determine how you do what you do. How do you view the customer? How do you view the season we're in right now? Do you view it as a season where nobody wants to buy, or do you view it like Jose does as a season where people want insurance, where people need insurance, where people are ready? When you get a stack of 30 leads, how do you view those leads? You view those leads as, I don't want to waste them, or man, I hope these are good, or I hope there's an opportunity here, or I just called 5 of them and got no answer. It's going to be a bad day. All of these leads are bad. Well, if you view them that way, it's going to affect what you do with them. You know, I always had this mindset. If I got 20 leads and I work 15 of them and I blank, everybody's telling me no, everybody's slamming the door in my face, or everybody's hanging up on me. I have to convince myself, have a proper mindset. I have to convince myself, hey, I've got past the bad ones. That must mean the last 5 is going to all buy from me. Those are the things we have to tell ourselves. That's what we have to do, because how we view what we do will determine what we do. So, skill set versus mindset. I can help you expand your aptitude to make yourself more able, but only you can determine your attitude. Only you can determine your mindset. Only you can determine how you view what you do. So, the insurance industry, I'll tell you this, has blessed me beyond measure. My life, my family, I've been places I would have never been if it was not for the insurance industry. I've done things I've never done. I've met people. I've met some of the best people in all of the world because of this industry. It gets hard sometimes. It gets tough sometimes. It gets, it's like anything else. But I look at all of the positive things. I look at all the great things that it's brought me and things that it's done for me. And I don't focus on the people that tell me no. I don't focus on the people that don't purchase. I focus on the good things. I purchase on the, man, look what we have done though. Look what we did sell this week. So it's all about numbers. It's all about taking massive action. And the more people you call, the more people you see, the more people you sell. I had a guy tell me one time this. He said, John, if you'll tell yourself this over and over and over again, when you make a sale, yes. When you miss a sale, same thing. And this is what he told me. If you're writing, taking notes, write this down. Some will, some won't. So what? Some will buy, some won't buy. So what? And then he followed it up with, who's next? Guys, you're going to get told no more than you get told yes. It's just part of it. But we don't stop. The people who sell the most insurance, whether it's face-to-face, in the field, or over the phone, are the people who ask people to buy. Remember this. If you're writing down, write this down. It's just gold. All this is just great. Things I've learned, things that have gotten me through this career. You got to ask to get. What does that say? You have to ask to get. See, a lot of people are afraid of the word no. I quote Zig Ziglar a lot because I read so many of his books, listened to so many of his tapes. Zig said this, no means go. No means go. No means go. If someone tells me no, then I haven't given them enough information for them to tell me a yes. It's my fault. I can't blame them. I can't be angry with them. I just haven't given them enough information for them to give me a yes. The only reason they're giving me a no is because I haven't presented it enough or good enough. So when they say no, I go. I go with more information. I go with more presentation. I go with more words. I go with more, just whatever I got to do. I don't take that as that. And then Zig even said this, it may be the 5th no before I get a yes. They may have to tell me no over and over and over and over again. But eventually they'll say yes. If they do, fine. If they don't, fine. Some will, some won't. So what? But I'm not afraid of the word no. Matter of fact, guys, especially if you're new at sales, no may be what you're looking for in a lot of cases. See, a lot of times we get in a house or we get on the phone and we feel like they're about to tell us no. And we just, to keep from getting a no, we pivot and we say, well, I'll come back and see you another time, or I'll call you again tomorrow. You just think about it. Don't say no yet. Sleep on it. Think about it. I'll come back tomorrow. Worst thing we can do a lot of times, what we need to do is get them to know. and then figure out why they said no. And then once we figure out why they said no, then we can get them closer to that yes. So if someone says, I'm not interested, okay, well, why? Figure out why they're not interested. If someone says, I don't need that, or I've already got that taken care of, fine. Now, Ms. Jones, why do you think you don't need that? I understand, if you don't need that, then great. Then I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I'd like to understand why you say that. I want to get to the bottom. I want to get to understanding why the no came, so we can get them past that no over to a yes. Don't be afraid of the word no. A lot of times people will tell you anything to keep from telling you no because they don't want to tell you no. We love these people because if they don't want to tell us no, we're going to make them, or either they're going to buy. One of the two outcomes are coming, or we may make them say no and they still may buy. We're going to get there though. So don't be afraid. The ultimate, what we have to do is ultimately we have to ask to get. Some of you may be on this call and you've tried this for a week or two and you hadn't had a whole lot of success. I would ask you this: how many people have you point blank asked them to buy? You point blank said, this is going to be $69 a month. Who do you want to leave this money? Who do you want to leave this information? This insurance to? Who's your beneficiary going to be? I'll give you another myth before we get into these different sales tactics. And here's another myth. People don't want to give out their personal information. People don't want to give out their social security number. People don't want to give out their checking account. I just don't feel comfortable asking. Well, just because you don't feel comfortable asking does not mean they don't feel comfortable giving. See, when I grew up, there was a few things you didn't talk about. You never talked about how much money you made. You never told, my daddy always said this, John, don't tell people how much money you make and never ask a man how much money they make. Now in sales, especially in insurance sales, every day I'm asking somebody, well, how much do you make every month? What's your social security check? Okay. Well, this is only going to be $74 a month. So, we want to fit that into your budget. And, we talk about finances every day because, that would have stopped me. That would have hindered me if I had listened to that advice. Not everything your parents told you growing up serves you, especially after you grow up. Don't talk to strangers was another one. Guys, we talk to strangers every day. Strangers talk to us every day. It's how we make our living. People need our help. People need our services. Don't believe these myths that people don't want to share their personal information. People don't want to give their social security number. People do it over and over and over. They recognize you as a professional. They recognize you as a legitimate helper. They recognize you for who you are, and they're ready to go a lot of times. But it's that messed up thinking, or that stinking thinking, as Jose said earlier, that limits us. It's a limiting belief. So be positive at all times. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do this. It's a numbers game, and it's a leads game. So with that being said, let's talk about leads, guys. Leads are the lifeblood of this business. You cannot be successful without leads. Leads are inexpensive. Leads are expensive, depending on the type of leads that you buy, that you purchase, that you work. Not all leads are created equal. Not all leads are the same. I understand that. Wouldn't it be perfect if we lived in a world where we knew the good leads from the bad leads? Wouldn't it be perfect if we could take 20 direct mail leads and only call the 5 that are willing to buy and not waste our time on those other 15? Be perfect, but we don't live in a perfect world, and there's no perfect situation. We just have to call them all. We can't even try. I used to, when I would take a lead, a stack of direct mail leads, I wouldn't even look at them until I got to the house. I used to see people with systems. They say, well, I'm going to call all of the women first, and then I'm going to call all of the men second, or I'm going to go from the youngest to the oldest. I never did that. I would always, if I was working in the field, I would just go to the ones furthest away first, so I could always work my way back. As I was working, I would become getting closer to the house. That's what I would always do. Telesales, I would just go one right after another. I'd find all the ones with phone numbers on them, and I would call them. And then I would take the ones without phone numbers, and I'd try my best to find phone numbers with white pages or whatever. But I did not care. I did not try to imagine what the outcome's going to be. I'm going to give it the same effort regardless of the outcome. And so the only bad lead is the lead that you don't buy and the lead that you don't work. You know, we work Facebook leads. I had someone last week said, you know, Facebook leads about half the quality of a direct mail lead. Well, it's half the price. So buy you 2 of them and it's the same. You got an extra phone call to make, but guess what? If that's what's available, that's what's available. Just get leads. Just work the leads. Live transfers are great. These are people that see a television commercial. They respond to that television commercial. That television commercial has moved them. It's made them, it's triggered an emotion, and they've picked up the phone and they've called, and those are wonderful. But they're not a sure thing every time. You're not going to sell 100% of live transfers. If you sell 50%, you're way extraordinary. You're going to probably sell about 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, but that's okay. You're going to make a lot of money doing that. See, here's the funny thing about insurance. If you spend $50 for a lead and you blank, guess what? You're out $50. Absolutely, 100%. If you buy 2 and you blank, you're out $100. $100, 100%. I agree with that. If you buy 4, you spend $200, but more than likely you're going to make 1 sale. You're going to sell 1 out of 4. Something's wrong. Now, you may sell 0 out of 4, but on the next 4, you may sell 2. See, some people in the insurance business never work enough leads to ever figure out the averages. They never really work enough leads to give it a chance. To me, you're not in the insurance business. You haven't really tried until you've worked at least 100 leads consistently, back to back to back. You say, John, that's expensive. It is expensive, but everybody wants to make a lot of money and a lot of commissions for very little. Everybody wants the most for the least. It's not how life works. The people that make the most money, that have the most success, is more times than not the ones that put in the most effort, the ones that work the hardest, and the ones that gave it the most. It's just how it works, guys. It's reaping and sowing. It's a biblical principle. You're going to get out of it exactly what you get out of something is exactly in proportion to what you put in and what you give. And I know there's a lot of people that come into this business and, man, this is just a last-ditch effort to try to be successful, and they try to spend the least amount of time and the least amount of money for the most results, but it doesn't work that way, guys. The person who works the most leads, buys the most leads, gives the most action will always have the most success. So give it a fair shot. Work the leads. And if you're doing Facebook leads, great. They're half the price, so buy twice as many. Whatever you can do to get the most leads, the most quality leads, great. Whatever you can do to make the most touches, make the most calls. Because see, here's the thing. I've got a friend of mine who owns a car dealership. He sells used cars. He sells new cars. He would spend $50,000 to make $5,000. Think nothing of it, because that's what he has to do in the car dealership. He'll buy a $50,000 automobile, sell it for $55,000. He'll spend $50,000 to make $5,000. Yet we get hung up on $200 to make $2,000. Guys, leads are not expensive when you look at it that way. So do whatever you can to invest in yourself. All of the skill set, all of the mindset, all of the training, all of this that you do, it's unimportant if you don't give yourself an opportunity to be successful. And the only way you're going to have a real opportunity to be successful is leads. I talk to people every day that work for organizations that expect them to just sell to their warm market. Well, I don't know about you, but I've got friends and I've got family, but I'm not going to try to, I'm limited to how many insurance policies I can sell to my friends and family. Your warm market will only get you so far. If you want to be successful in this business, you got to have leads. So, especially with telesales, you're not limited by time, you're not limited by location. You can work all over the world. And that was a good comment. I said I was going to stay out of the chats and just focus on talking, but I just saw that. It says that strangers will support you more than friends and family. This is the honest to God truth. You know, I've heard people tell me this over and over. I'd be more successful if my family would just support me more, my friends would just support me more. Guys, if you're waiting on that, you're never going to be successful. I got to get out there and be successful because I'm going to be successful. You know who's going to give me my pep talk? Me. I woke up this morning knowing I had to do this and I wanted to video it. I got a big sty on my eye right here. It hurts. And it's like, it was a lot bigger this morning. So I put some warm cloth on. It's kind of the swellings went down a little bit. You know, my whole day just started. It started early and I started hard, but I had to give myself pep talks. I was like, oh man, don't worry about that. Nobody's going to notice it. Now you notice it because I pointed it out. But it's just, you know, I have to support myself. I have to build myself up. I had to pick myself up. And there's times nobody supports me. It's all right. And I'm going to take leads just like, I believe it was Hope that said it. Somebody said it, that I'm going to talk to strangers all day long. Because if I get rejected by a stranger, it's okay. I got another stranger waiting in the wings, and I'm fixing to call on this next lead. Somebody's going to buy. If I talk to enough people, somebody's going to buy. So I'm just going to keep talking. But your warm market, guys, I'll tell you what'll happen to your warm market. Your warm market will go cold quick. You start trying to sell them insurance. You got to have leads. If you don't have leads, none of it's going to work. Now, let me say this. Don't be prejudiced to a certain type of lead. Don't think, well, as long as I got live transfers, I'm going to work. But as soon as the live transfers run out, I'm done. Well, you're going to be done. Because there's certain times of the year where we just can't get live transfers, or we just can't get enough of them. Election season comes and the politicians are buying up all the airtime. We can't run our commercials because they charge us 5 times more for the price, because airtime's more expensive, because all of the political people run up the airtime. Medicare season, every year, annual enrollment for Medicare. Guess what? Joe Namath, Tom Selleck, all these guys are on TV talking about Medicare products that they probably don't even have. But whatever, they're advertising these products and it pushes airtime up, so we can't get as many live transfers during those times. Now, that's over with. People's at home watching TV. We got live transfers rolling in. But in between those live transfers, we've got to work Facebook leads. We've got to work older TV leads. We've got to work direct mail leads. Now, if you were on my call a few weeks ago, you heard this story. I sold the very first telesales experience I had was with a direct mail lead. Had a stack of direct mail leads that I had worked through. People wasn't at home or whatever. I came into this very office a few years ago, and I believe it was about 3 years ago. And I said, you know what? For over 2 decades, you've been very successful at field sales face-to-face. You're going to learn telesales. You're going to take what you learned in the field and you're going to transfer it to telesales. I learned that 90% of what I did in the field would translate, but there was a few things I had to learn that I didn't know. And I learned them. I learned them the hard way. I learned them by studying. I learned them by talking to other people that were very good at it. And I was able to become very, very strong over the phone. I still am. I sold an insurance policy over the phone last week. The skills are still there. It's all there. But I had to learn them. I had to develop them. First call I ever made to try to sell an insurance policy over the phone was on a direct mail lead. Not only was it a direct mail lead, but it was an old direct mail lead. I picked up the phone. I called, Miss Jones, you sent this card in. I want to just see, go over this information. 45 minutes later, I'm done sold her an $82 bank draft here in Georgia, right down the road. I think it was in Nashville, Georgia. She purchased that insurance policy. 3 years later today, she still has it. I was so fired up, just so excited. Called 10 more direct mail leads. Nobody answered. But that first one I sold, it was an older direct mail lead. And what I realized is this: I would develop a strategy where I would take live transfers as they came, and I kind of learned things. I learned that the live transfers will come more readily on Saturday and Sunday because there were less agents working. So I knew that if I could find ways to work on Saturday and Sunday or later in the evenings, I would get more live transfers. But between those times, I would buy direct mail leads or Facebook leads or whatever kind of leads I could get my hands on, and I will call them because I got to have some action. I can't just be sitting. I can't just be waiting. I have to be going after the sale. Always have some action. So don't get partial to a particular type of lead, because here's what I'm going to tell you. And I told somebody this last week. The kind of leads that I worked when I started in this business are not the leads I work today. Everything changes in this business, and you got to learn to adapt and to change with the different things that, you know, with the changes that take place. So sales is a transfer of emotion. Remember that. Sales is a transfer of emotion. Okay. To be a good sales professional, you cannot try to appeal to people's logic. You have to appeal to their emotion. See, how many times have you presented a scenario to a customer and it made sense to you? It made sense to them. It was a logical thing for them to do, but they wouldn't do it. It just makes sense. You walk out scratching your head, say, it just don't make sense. I mean, it don't make sense not to buy this. Because you're worried about logic. Sales is not about logic. Sales is about emotion. See, facts tell, but stories sell. We're trying to appeal to people's emotions, not their logic. See, if you're a black and white thinker, if you're a very logical, analytical type person, you're going to push all that out of your way. It's all about emotions, 100%. Now, with that being said, when you speak with someone over the phone, it's even more important than face-to-face. And it's super important face-to-face, but it's even more important over the phone that you control your emotions. I've said this so many times, but I'm going to continue to say it until people understand it. But you have to set the tone for the sale. And it's very important that you realize you set the tone. If you can't control your emotions, how in the world are you ever going to affect someone else's emotions? If you can't control how you feel, how you sound, the tone in your voice, the inflection in your voice, the smile or the frown on your face, if you can't control these things, how in the world are you going to appeal and affect someone else's emotions? So number one, you got to be strong mentally. You got to be tough. And you have to have a made-up mind that I'm starting my day 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and I don't care what I went through over the weekend. I don't care if there's $5 in my checking account or $5,000 in my checking account. I don't care what I got in front of me. I'm going to take control of my emotions today. I'm going to put a smile on my face. So you can tell when I'm smiling, I'm looking at this camera because all them wrinkles pop up. I'm smiling hard, but guess what? I want to bring a tone. Think about it like this. Are you going to be a thermometer or are you going to be a thermostat? What's the difference? A thermometer can gauge the temperature. If it's 98 degrees in this room, I can bring a thermometer in this room and it'll tell me it's 98 degrees in this room. It will gauge that temperature. But a thermostat determines the temperature. See, I came into the office this morning, it was 60 degrees. I was chilly. I wanted to warm it up a little bit. So I set I saw the thermometer and it says 60 degrees. I set the thermostat on 62. Because I set the thermostat on 62, the entire room came up to where we set that thermostat. See, in sales, you got to, when you walk into a house or when you pick up a phone, you got to determine, am I going to be the thermometer? Am I going to gauge the situation and then match it? Or am I going to be the thermostat and I'm going to set the temperature or set the emotion? Maybe you're not a chipper person. Maybe you're not a happy person most of the time. Maybe you're a little melancholy. Hey, all that's fine as long as you don't bring that to the sale. So you got to bring your smile. You got to bring that chipper personality. You may have to dig real deep. Sometimes I had to dig real deep, but I have to put a smile on. I can't be distracted. The most important customer you have is the one you're on the phone with or the one you're sitting in front of. That's all that matters at that moment. My phone's off unless I'm talking on it. But text, all that notifications are silenced. I'm focused 100% on that sale, on that person, and I'm bringing the emotion. I'm setting the tone. I'm not matching the tone. If they answer the phone and they're in a bad mood, I don't care. I'm about to change that mood because I'm coming with the thermostat. I'm going to bring them up to my level. I'm happy. I'm smiling. I'm laughing. I'm upbeat. I'm positive. I'm going to be all of these things until I change them and bring them to my level. See, the problem with a lot of salespeople is somebody tells them no, and then somebody else tells them no, and somebody else tells them no. They started out in a great mood, but by 1 p.m. on Tuesday, they've had no for a day and a half, nothing but no, nothing but hang on. All of a sudden, they start becoming that thermometer, and they start adjusting themselves down instead of being that thermostat that is set. So you set a thermostat. You got to set your emotions. You got to set your mood. You got to set yourself at the place you need to be. So if sales is a transfer of emotion, what emotion are you transferring? Well, number one, I'm positive because I want them to be positive. Number two, I've got a feeling or a sense of expectation. I expect this phone call to go good. Even if the last 6 went bad, I expect number 7 to be good. Because if you start expecting it to be bad, it will be bad. But if you expect it to be positive, eventually it will get where you expect it to be. It will always match your expectation. Again, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So, down to business. Long interlude, long intro into sales, because what I'm going to teach you is simple. We're going to go over a salutation. We're going to go over a conversation. We're going to go over a presentation. We're going to go over reiteration, evaluation. All of these ations is what I call them. That's the simple stuff. All of this stuff right up to this point, getting into it, this is the nuts and bolts of what we do. If we don't get the mindset right, none of the rest matters. Guys, I call it a salutation because it rhymes with conversation and presentation and valuation and reiteration and all these things. I like things to rhyme because you can remember them. But if you don't have the mindset, the attitude, none of that's right, you're going to mess it up with the salutation. You're going to mess it up with the greeting. Let's call it the greeting if you want to. Because the first thing they hear is the most important thing they hear. You don't get a, what's the old saying? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. You don't. Guys, first impressions are everything. You deal with a 60 and older market on a fixed income. That's who you sell final expense insurance to. That's your market. Guess what? These are the most sought after people by telemarketers out there. But I want you to say this with me this morning. Say it with me. Say this. I am not a telemarketer. Say it again till you believe it. I am not a telemarketer. You're not a telemarketer. You would not call this person had they not requested you to reach out to them. I don't care if it's a Facebook lead. I don't care if it's a direct mail lead. Even better, if it's a live transfer, they're calling you. So why would you sound like a telemarketer when you're not a telemarketer? I used to sell insurance door to door in the field, and I'd come to a neighborhood that said no soliciting. And I'd be training the guy, and the guy say, "Are you going in here?" Which says no solicitor. And I'd look at him, I said, "I'm not a solicitor. I got the information right here. They wanted me to come. I'm a guest." We pull up to the house, and he said, "Aren't you going to go to the front door and ring the doorbell?" I said, "No, I'm not a solicitor. I'm a guest. I'm going to the back door like their guests do. You see where the shoes are off by their back door? That's where everybody goes in. That's where I'm going in. If I go ring the doorbell, it's going to make an odd sound that they probably don't often hear, because most people don't go to the front door all formal like ringing the doorbell. I'm a guest. I'm invited. I'm wanted." If you see yourself as a telemarketer, you're going to sound like a telemarketer. If you see yourself as a telemarketer, you're going to present yourself as a telemarketer. But if you see yourself as someone just returning a call or getting them the information they requested, it changes your whole outlook, changes your whole attitude. And when you get them on the phone, you don't sound like a telemarketer. You don't look like a telemarketer. You don't smell like a telemarketer, because you're not a telemarketer. Say it again. I am not a telemarketer. I'm a friend. Guys, if you can't make a friend, you're not going to make a check. If you can't make a friend, you're not going to make a living. You got to be able to make a friend. How do you make a friend? By being a friend. You're not a telemarketer, so don't sound like a telemarketer. Let me tell you how a telemarketer sounds. Hello? Yes, is Stacy King there, please? You sound like a telemarketer because you went ahead and you started off the conversation asking a question. It's very easy for them to say, "No, she's not here." No. I never do that. I always assume that the person on the other end of the line is the person I'm talking to. Excuse me, the person on the card is the one I'm talking to. Now, if it's a live transfer, it's simple. You know who you're talking to. You just have an operator say, "It's Deborah King. She wants to talk to you." So when you pick up the phone and you hear the the operator hang up, "Hey, Miss Deborah, how are you doing?" Now, here's a few little things, and I'm only going to go to the greeting today. We're going to save all the rest of it to tomorrow. So if I'm over an hour now, give me 10 more minutes, and then we'll pick up tomorrow. So on the greeting, I'm always going to assume that the person on the lead is the person I'm talking to. If it's a live transfer, it's simple. You know who it is. It's very simple. Now, I will say this. I like first names. Again, I know it's respectful if someone's 70 and I'm 46 to say Mr. Wyckoff or Mr. Tanner or whatever. It's respectful. I'm going to be respectful, but at the same time, I want to be personal. My first name is personal. People that I know call me Mr. Tanner. People I love call me John. Acquaintances call me Mr. Tanner. People that are close to me call me John. My friends call me John. The only people that call me Mr. Tanner are people that I do business with. Now, we want to do business with these people, yes, but we want to reach to them at a personal level because we're doing more than transactions. We're talking to them about their loved ones. We're talking to them about their final expenses. We got to get personal. We got to get emotional. So let's go by first names, okay? First names, always first names. So if you want to put Miss in front of the first name or Mr. in front of the first name, great. I am a little uncomfortable calling a 75-year-old man Mark. So I'll say Mr. Mark or Bud, Mr. Bud. I like first names. It's personal, but I still say Mr. and Miss a lot of times. When I get on the phone, if it's a direct mail lead, a Facebook lead, a multi-source lead, any of these other leads, I'm going to look at the name on the lead card. I'm going to take that first name. If it's Susie King, I'm just making up names now. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to dial the number. And the first person that answers, I'm going to say, Susie, how are you? First name, how are you? Miss Susie, how are you doing? Miss Susie, how's your day going? Miss Susie, however, but I'm going to greet her, not like a telemarketer. I'm not going to ask, is Susie King there or this or that, because that's what a telemarketer does. How many times have you looked at your phone, you don't recognize the number, but you answer anyway, and they say, yes, can I speak to Stephen, please? Sounds like a telemarketer. I'm going to hang up. I'm not even going to say, hey, just hang up. But you look at your phone, you don't recognize the number. Hello, Stephen, how are you? It's different. Don't sound like a telemarketer. It's personal. I may find out who this guy is. I may talk to him. Stephen, how are you? I used to have a sales guy that trained me years ago, and he laughed. He was always laughing. He was always laughing when he talked to clients. He'd pick up the phone, he'd call a client. Again, let's go with Stephen. Hey, Stephen, how are you? He just laughed all the way through it. And it was almost annoying to me because I heard him do it so many times. I worked with him for 2 weeks every day, and he just laughed. But what I noticed is when we would get back in the vehicle, or when we would be eating dinner or whatever, he just talked to me regular. But over the phone, he was always so vibrant, so jubilant. I mean, he was just so excited, and it always rubbed off on the client. Now, in the salutation, in the greeting, bring the joy, bring the emotion, bring the positivity, bring all of these things. Be excited, but don't overdo it. We don't want to do it so much that we come off salesy, okay? It's okay to sound like a salesman. You are a salesman, or a saleswoman. You are a saleswoman. Be proud of who you are and what you are, but don't overdo it, and don't talk too loud, guys. The louder your voice gets, the more people go back. The quieter you get, the closer they get. So watch that volume. Now, keep this in mind. You are speaking with people advanced in age. A lot of times they have hearing problems. You may be yelling. If you have to, you have to. Make sure they can understand you. They can hear what you're saying. A lot of times if people have a problem hearing me, and I can tell their hearing's impaired, I'll tell them to turn their speakerphone on and still put it to the ear where the volume gets a little louder and they can hear me. So this is very important. Next thing I'll tell you about the greeting, and then I'm going to close it up for today, and we'll get into the rest of it tomorrow. The next thing I'll tell you about the greeting is you got to get them on the phone to talk to them, you know, and your job is not done when you dial and they don't answer. You got to dial again. So one thing I do, and you're going to have to do this, it's not a choice. If you're going to be successful over the phone, you got to get them on the phone. So it's not a choice. You're going to have to call and call and call and call and call and call until you get them. Rule of thumb for me, I'm going to call 5 times. I'm going to call 5 times back to back. I used to say 3 times. The reason I'd say 3 times is because most of the time, if they're home by that 3rd time, they're going to answer. Not always. Well, if they don't, I'm going to do the 4th, and I'm going to do the 5th. I'm going to call and be persistent until they answer the phone. Worst thing is they just don't answer the phone. And then guess what I do? I take note of the time I called them. If it was before lunch on Monday, then I'm gonna call them back on Tuesday after lunch, because maybe they've got something they do every morning before lunch. So I'm gonna call them at different times, and I'm gonna call them and call them and call them and call them and call them until I get them. Here's what I would tell you: this, call them like they owe you money. Have that mentality. I'm going to call them like they owe me money. If somebody owes me money, I'm going to track them down. I'm going to run them down. Guess what? They do owe you money. You paid money for that lead that they sent in to the mail, or for that Facebook lead that they responded to. So you're calling them because they owe you money. So call them with that mentality 4, 5 times. Now, when they answer, you've called them back to back 5 times, and they answer that phone, they may not be in the best of moods, but that's okay. Remember, you're the thermostat. You're going to get them to where you are. When they pick up that phone a little bit agitated, a little bit irritated because you called them 5 times in a row, just kind of chuckle. Stephen, how are you? Man, why you keep calling me? Just wanted you to know I wasn't a telemarketer. If you like me, you get calls all day long. I don't answer a call if I don't recognize it, but you requested this information, and that's the only reason I'm calling you. I wanted to make sure you know I wasn't a telemarketer. I wanted to touch base with you. You had sent this card in. I wanted to get the information out to you. Man, I know you're busy. And then you just stay in the conversation. Okay, yeah, you're right. I get calls all day. Worst thing they can do is hang up, and then I'm going to call them back. Stephen, man, we got disconnected. I don't know what happened there. But as I was saying, guys, you got to be persistent. You got to be persistent. Do whatever you can do. You don't have a shot if you can't get them on the phone. I know somebody who wrote $30,000 in annualized premium on the phone in 1 week. 1 week. You know how you write $30,000 in annualized premium on the phone in 1 week? You call, and 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 you call. You ask this person, do you have a hard time getting people to answer their phone? You know what they're going to say? Yes, everybody has a hard time getting people to answer the phone. Guys, if it was easy, everybody would do it. You're not ever going to make a lot of money doing anything easy. You're going to have to find hard stuff and do the hard stuff that other people aren't willing to do. That's the way you get there. It's hard, but it also is rewarding. Nobody wants to answer the phone to a number they don't recognize, but you call them enough, they're going to pick that phone up. They hang up on you, call them back 2 days later, they won't even remember the conversation, and you start all over. You got to be persistent. You got to track these people down like they owe you money. And that's the only way you're going to be successful. You got to get them on the phone. That's why this greeting is so important. If you can get them on the phone and you can get them on that phone for 5 minutes, if they'll stay on that phone for 5 minutes, you're probably going to get to the end of the presentation and you're probably going to make a sale. The first 5 minutes are the hardest part, but if you can get past that, you're golden. It's all downhill from there. Don't mean every one of them's going to buy from you, no, but you got a real good chance of selling them an insurance policy if you can keep them on the phone for 5 minutes. But you can't keep them on the phone if you don't get them on the phone. So if you say, I don't want to be annoying, just quit now. You don't want to be annoying, you need to quit now. You're going to have to be annoying. You're going to have to be persistent. You're going to have to call and call and call. You're going to have to keep talking after people tell you no. All these things you're going to have to do if you want to be successful. It's hard to get people on the phone, but it's not impossible. Find the hard things, because at the other side of hard is success. So, hope you got something out of that. I'm not ending the call by no means, but what I am going to do is I'm going to